Burial Rites, which is about her last few months of life, and it backtracks into the events that eventually caused the murder, etc. Historical fiction. Well, for Leibniz, the difference that you could tell is that history, if it's accurate, is coherent. Fiction is loaded with flaws. Why did Harry, not use Accio, for all the other possible situations where it would have solved the problem? Why did they leave as soon as they realized they shouldn't be where they were? You could just attack fiction and say, what a screw up. Why did the author do this? Etc. Whereas history, you end up looking and you think this is what caused this and this is what caused it. It might be hard for us to figure out all the complex issues in that, but nonetheless, as you look at history, it's not got the same kind of incoherence that fiction generally does, right? That's Leibniz's interesting point about the difference. What I'd like to talk about, too, is our contemporary standard model, which tells you how things are similar to the monad, but I'll leave that up to you. I imagine most of you are familiar with it, at least a little bit. And next class, we'll be talking about George Berkeley, and we'll mention Leibniz back and forth because they're engaged in things with one another. And I've got, yes?
Is it Berkeley or Berkeley?
Yes, good question.
Cool.
Yeah, I've heard it both ways, and you could get in trouble with people if they feel like it really ought to be this way. And I'm like, Berkeley? But here's sure if I'll. How about that? I don't know if I have to translate this for you or not. That's Sophia. Berkeley? How did you say it? Do I need to explain? Is the table real?
Irgendwas Festes.
It's hard.
Bist du wirklich Miss Amundsen?
Are you real?
Ich denke schon.
I think so.
Wer sind Sie?
Mein Name ist Berkeley. George Berkeley.
That doesn't mean he's right.
Ich bin Sophie.
Das Einzige, was wirklich ist die Macht des Herrn.
Des Herrn?
Der Herr Sophie.
No, it's an actor.
No, he was afraid of cameras.
Sorry, this is that a weird attempt to try to prove how do you say his name? It doesn't prove it.
English is a made-up language?
It is. And as I've said, and I like the way I say it, there's no definite correct way to pronounce any wood.
Like bow?
Like bow.
Yeah.
Bow. Well, that's an actor playing Bishop Berkeley. This is a I think Swedish or Danish movie based on the book Sophie's World. Have you heard of it? Sophie's World. It's a novel for kids that basically, no, I'm not pointing at you as if you're a kid. I mean, like high schools use it. High schools use it to teach philosophy, usually, and it's kind of interesting. Darfi, do I dare ruin your? How many of you are planning on reading the book or watching the show? It's actually a TV series. It's not a movie. Okay, well, I'll ruin it for you, okay? When he asks her, "Are you real?" and she says, "I think so." At that point in the book, you think that's kind of funny for him to ask, right? But of course, as you're learning Berkeley's philosophy in the book or in the TV show, well, we'll see next class, right? His response to that. But what's funny in the book is it turns out at the end of the book, oh, I won't ruin it for you. I'll leave it.
What? You can't do that. That's like,
I'm allowed.
yeah, it's like saying.
No. That's a war. Yeah. You want this kid or this one? No, that's a different. Yeah. Yeah. This is the basic idea is that the father is a Swedish member of the UN Army stationed in Africa, and so he writes back to his daughter, sends letters back to his daughter, asking her these philosophical questions like, "Who are you?" Things of that sort, and gets a written, not email, but a pet letter. Dialogue going with his daughter, which you think, oh, that's a nice thing for a father that's in absentia to be able to do. But at the end of it, you find out that actually Sophie is her imagination of the individual as opposed to the real person who you find out at the end of the book. So I just ruined it for you, but there you go. So in this particular case, it's actually funny because you'll find out later on that Sophie isn't real. She's an imaginary person that the real daughter is thinking of. But it's a good book if you have a chance. And some of the high schools in Anchorage we're actually using it in philosophy class. If you took philosophy as a an extra choice in your curriculum, I don't know those teachers are still here right now, but that was kind of so that's kind of interesting. Quiz question. You actually have a choice. In my notes, what I asked is, are we Klein bottles?
Are we what? Who in the what? You gonna bring up Klein bottles in a philosophy class, really? What is it? What is
A Klein bottle.
What is that? A wine bottle? Oh, a Klein. Oh,
Yeah, a Klein bottle.
I said wine bottle.
A
Am I
Klein
wine
bottle.
What is that?
No, it's like an ongoing.
Yeah.
You don't.
It's this.
Yeah, we aren't really. But what's neat about this is that these are four-dimensional figures in 3 dimensions. Kind of like a Mobius strip, right? You're familiar with those, where it's a one-sided figure that is twisted so that it's one side. Yeah. So this is kind of the same thing, except you can actually find people with these. There's a TED Talk. Which is just really cool because he is hilarious. This is not him. This is a commercial for snoring husbands, I guess. And you can't get rid of it. That's one of those commercials.
I'm honored by the invitation and thanks. I would love to talk about stuff that I'm interested in, but unfortunately I suspect that what I'm interested in won't interest many other people. First off, my badge says I'm an astronomer. I would love to talk about my astronomy, but I suspect that the number of people who are interested in radiation transfer, non-gray atmospheres, and the polarization of that in Jupiter's upper atmosphere, the number of people who fit into a blood shelter. So
Let me
I'm
look.
not going to talk about that. About this, but I don't have much in the way of it. It's not one that's in soccer, but that's not what I'm going to talk about. I'd love to talk about it and be fun, but I want to talk about what I'm doing now. Oh, what am I doing now? Oh, the other thing that I think I'd like to talk
This
about.
is a TED Talk.
Right over here.
Very excited.
Right, is that
Do
visible?
you remember Sarah Palin
What I'd like to talk about is
remembering what she
one-sided
wanted to
things.
talk about by writing it on her hand?
I love to talk
She
about
was
things
giving a
that have
speech.
one side because I love Mobius loops. I not only love Mobius loops, but I'm one of the very few people, and not the only person in the world, that makes flying bottles. Okay, right away, I hope all of your eyes glaze over. This is a flying bottle. For those who know, those of you in the audience who know, you roll your eyes and say, yep, I know all about it. It's one-sided, it's a bottle whose inside is its outside, it has zero volume, and it's non-orientable, it has wonderful properties. If you take two Mobius loops and sew their common edge together, then you get one of these, and I make them out of glass, and I'd love to talk to you about this, but I don't have much in the way of...
That's just fun. So that would be one possible quiz question for today. Are we Klein bottles? And we're not, but it's still interesting to talk about it. And because what amazes me is knowing that my skin is, number one, it's the largest organ in my body, right? You say, right? But it also actually continues in, and okay, let's not go there. We're not going, okay, so that was one possible quiz question, right? And then the other quiz question that you really have to have in an intro to philosophy course, and I realized I didn't list it as one of my quiz questions, but I ought to, is if a tree falls in a forest and there's no one there to hear it, does it make a sound? A tree falls in a forest and there's no one there to hear it, does it make a sound?
How do you come up with these questions? They're really good questions.
That's not my question.
Oh.
I'm just, none of this stuff is my own. I'm just passing on to you the things that are in the philosophical corpus that you're supposed to know about for cocktail parties in the future. That's Elaine.
Is the tree on Earth?
Oh.
Yeah, got your hair.
Wait, what do you mean by
Are
this?
there
Like,
trees not on Earth?
Well, let's say you pulled a Voltron and just moved a massive amount of rock into space, and then a tree fell over there. It wouldn't make sound because it's in space.
Could a tree technically be falling in space?
There's no gravity that makes it work. Everything is gravity, so it'll fall into something.
Gravity.
is the tree real?
How do I know the tree is real?
I know
Are
more
we real?
Are mitochondria?
This is a good question. I can just tell. Everybody is going, and that's great. That's what these questions are for, is to blow your minds apart. Yeah. It's kind of like what happens when the floor factory in France blew up.
Continue.
That was linoleum blown apart.
Here, continue. I see what you did. I understood that reference.
Any questions for me so far? I should show you Leibniz's calculator.
No. I think I've heard of his calculator.
There it is.
Okay.
Leibniz invented a calculator. Remember,
Oh, you introduced.
Blaise Pascal invented a calculating machine to help his dad do his, the tax collecting. Leibniz did one that can do fluxions and calculus functions. He made 2 copies of it.